What would you do if you were in this situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Which part of this story surprised you the most? Share your reactions in the comments. I love reading what you think. If you could add one twist to this story, what would it be? Let's get creative in the comments. What do you think happens next in the human versus alien saga? Let's discuss your theories below. Ethan clutches his backpack straps tightly as he steps through the gates of a new school, his heart thudding louder than the morning bell. Transferring mid-semester wasn't his choice, but his parents thought it would be a fresh start. They always meant well but never really noticed how much Ethan struggled with meeting new people. They worked long hours, leaving home life quiet, full of supportive words but distant interactions. He walks through the crowded hallways, each footstep drowning in the chaotic noise of conversations and locker slams. The overwhelming chatter makes him feel small. People jostle past without noticing him, and Ethan instinctively ducks his head, as if making himself smaller will keep him invisible. A few students offer friendly glances, but the thought of saying anything back sends anxiety swirling in his chest. He reaches the cafeteria, trays clattering and friends grouping off at tables. He scans the room, hoping for a miracle, someone waving him over or inviting him to sit. But no one does. Ethan quietly settles into an empty table at the corner, unpacking his sandwich, trying to appear like he's fine eating alone. It's a routine he knows too well: head down, stay quiet, and avoid attention. After lunch, he wanders the halls during the break, pretending to check the posters on the walls, anything to avoid standing awkwardly. As students gather in groups, chatting and laughing, he feels like an outsider looking in. It's only his first day, but it feels like he's already missed the opportunity to blend in. Just as the afternoon classes begin, the murmurs of students ripple through the hallway, catching Ethan's attention. A new student has arrived, a girl no one recognizes. She moves through the crowd with an unusual grace, like someone who doesn't quite belong but isn't trying to. The girl, Seria, carries herself differently. There's a calm, deliberate air about her, as if she's studying everything, every movement, every person. Ethan notices her immediately, not because she stands out in a flashy way, but because of the way she moves, quiet, composed, and sharp-eyed, as if every step is calculated. Something about her presence feels off, not unsettling, just different. The way she watches her surroundings, scanning faces and gestures, makes it seem like she's not entirely human, though Ethan dismisses the thought as absurd. What Ethan doesn't know is that Seria has her own secret. She's not just a new student adjusting to a new environment. She's been sent to this school with a mission: protect Ethan. Seria's alien superiors identified him as someone carrying the key to unlocking ancient alien technology, though Ethan has no idea of its existence. Her mission is clear: stay close, monitor him, and guard him at all costs. But to blend in, she has to pretend to be an ordinary teenager. Seria enrolls without missing a beat, as if stepping into an assignment she's done 1,000 times. On the surface, she plays the role of a curious new student, but her sharp instincts are always on high alert. Everything around her is new, different customs, gestures, expressions. Humans fascinate her, but she knows she can't afford to get too attached. Ethan doesn't expect to interact with her that day, but the encounter happens by chance, or perhaps fate. As he leaves the library, balancing his books, his foot catches on the edge of the rug. The books tumble to the ground with a loud thud, papers scattering everywhere. Flustered, he kneels to gather them quickly, hoping no one noticed his clumsiness. Just as he reaches for a notebook, another hand grabs it. Ethan looks up and meets Seria's eyes. For a moment, he's caught off guard. There's something striking about her, though he can't put his finger on it. Something in the way she looks at him, focused but not unfriendly. "Need some help?" she asks, her voice calm and steady, not like the usual excitable chatter of his classmates. Thanks," Ethan mumbles, surprised at how effortlessly she offered to help. He wasn't used to people being this direct with him, especially on the first day. Seria picks up the rest of his books with ease, handing them back to him. Ethan takes them awkwardly, not quite sure what to say. Conversations have always been hard for him. But unlike others, Seria doesn't seem to mind the silence between them. There's no impatience, no awkwardness, just calmness, as if she's perfectly comfortable letting the moment linger. "You're new too?" Ethan finally asks, trying to fill the silence. "Yes," Seria replies, her gaze steady, almost like she's sizing him up. But there's no malice in it, just observation. "First day." Ethan nods, not knowing what else to say. There's an odd sense of relief that washes over him. Meeting someone else who's new makes him feel a little less alone, even if she's unlike anyone he's met before. "Want to walk to class together?" Seria offers casually, as if they'd been friends for years. Ethan hesitates. He's used to being on his own, not relying on anyone. But something about Seria's calm demeanor makes it easy to say yes. Maybe, just maybe, this new school won't be so bad after all. He nods, giving her a small, nervous smile. "Yeah, sure." As they walk side by side to their next class, Ethan can't shake the feeling that meeting Seria was no coincidence. For the first time that day, he feels something other than anxiety, something that feels a little like hope. Ethan and Seria's friendship grows steadily, rooted in small, everyday moments. They discover a surprising overlap in their interests, especially in things like astronomy and comic books. Ethan introduces her to a gaming club at school, where they spend afternoons battling virtual aliens and laughing over each other's mistakes. For the first time, Ethan feels like someone understands his passions. Seria isn't just tolerating his hobbies, she actively engages with him, matching his enthusiasm, and sometimes even surprising him with her skill. It's as if she's always been one step ahead, but Ethan figures she just learns quickly. Seria quietly adjusts her routine to stay close to Ethan. She joins him during lunch, sitting at his usual quiet corner of the cafeteria. At first, Ethan is nervous. He's used to being invisible, and suddenly, someone sitting with him draws attention. Classmates throw curious glances their way, surprised to see the new girl spending time with someone as reserved as Ethan. But Seria doesn't seem to care about the attention, and over time, either does Ethan. They settle into an easy rhythm, where conversation flows naturally, and silences aren't uncomfortable. Seria's presence becomes a steady part of Ethan's day, something he looks forward to without realizing it. The more time Ethan spends with her, the more he notices little things about Seria that don't quite add up. She dodges questions about where she lived before moving here, always giving vague answers that don't seem to fit. There are moments where her reactions are unusually fast, almost like she anticipates things before they happen. Once, when they were walking to class, Ethan tripped on a loose tile, and before he even realized he was falling, Seria had already grabbed his arm and steadied him. Her movements were smooth and effortless, as if she'd done it 1,000 times. Ethan laughs it off, assuming she's just really coordinated. But there are other times when her actions are harder to dismiss. During gym class, Ethan scrapes his hand on the rough asphalt, the wound stinging painfully. Without a second thought, Seria pulls out what looks like an ordinary band-aid from her pocket. She presses it over the cut, and within seconds, the pain vanishes. When Ethan removes the band-aid later, the scrape is almost completely healed, leaving no trace it had ever happened. He's too grateful to question it much at the time, chalking it up to good luck. But a small part of him wonders how she knew exactly what to do. Seria, however, feels the weight of these moments differently. Every time she steps in to help Ethan, she risks revealing who she truly is. Her mission was simple on paper: guard Ethan, stay unnoticed, and ensure he doesn't fall into the hands of those searching for the ancient technology he unknowingly carries. But reality complicates things. At first, she treated Ethan like an assignment. Observe, monitor, protect, that's all it was supposed to be. Yet, the more time she spends with him, the more she realizes how much she enjoys his company. Ethan isn't just someone to protect, he's someone she cares about in ways she hadn't anticipated. The mission feels heavier now, not because it's difficult, but because of what it's doing to her. Seria was trained to follow orders without question, but no one warned her how complicated emotions could be. She finds herself laughing at Ethan's jokes, feeling genuinely happy around him. Every time she saves him, it feels less like duty and more like instinct, like something she wants to do, not because she was told to, but because she chooses to. And that scares her. The lines between duty and friendship blur more with each passing day, leaving her torn between the two. Ethan notices her changing too, though not in a way he can explain. There's a depth to their conversations now, something beyond surface-level chatter. He opens up to her about things he's never shared with anyone, his struggles with making friends, his fears of being a burden to his parents, his quiet dreams of doing something meaningful one day. And Seria listens, not out of obligation but out of genuine interest. She finds herself wanting to protect more than just his safety. She wants to guard the fragile parts of him that he hides from the world, the pieces that only she gets to see. One evening, Ethan invites Seria to a stargazing event at a nearby observatory. It's a small, quiet gathering, perfect for someone like him. Seria agrees, curious about the stars that humans admire so much. As they sit under the open sky, looking through telescopes and pointing out constellations, something shifts between them. There's a sense of peace in that moment, as if the weight of the world, and Seria's mission, doesn't matter. They talk about the vastness of the universe, the possibility of life on other planets. Ethan wonders aloud if aliens would understand humans if they ever met. Seria smiles quietly, knowing the answer better than anyone. But instead of telling him the truth, she simply says, "I think they'd learn a lot from you." Ethan laughs, assuming it's just another one of her odd remarks, but Seria means every word. By the time the event ends, either of them wants to leave. They walk back to town together, the night air cool and filled with unspoken thoughts. For Ethan, it's one of the best nights he's ever had. For Seria, it's a moment that makes her question everything she thought she knew. Protecting Ethan was supposed to be a mission. But now, it feels like much more than that. And for the first time, Seria isn't sure if she can separate her duty from her heart. Strange things begin happening around the school, subtle at first but unsettling. Unfamiliar figures appear at odd places, near the gates, in the parking lot, even lurking by the sports field. They blend in too well to raise alarm, but Seria notices. Their movements are too deliberate, their presence too intentional. She knows they aren't just ordinary people, they're operatives searching for Ethan, and it's only a matter of time before they act. She tightens her guard, shadowing Ethan closely, though he remains unaware of the danger surrounding him. One afternoon, as Ethan walks home from school, a black van idles at the curb. Just as he steps off the sidewalk, the door slides open. Before Ethan can react, Seria pulls him back with a force that feels almost inhuman. In the same motion, she disables the men inside the van using a small, invisible pulse from her wristband, an alien tool hidden in plain sight. Ethan sees none of this. To him, it's just another strange moment where Seria moves faster than humanly possible, her expression too calm for someone who just prevented an ambush. He starts to feel uneasy. It's not just that Seria always seems to be in the right place at the right time. There's something about her that doesn't fit, as if she knows things she shouldn't, as if she's prepared for situations no normal person could predict. The way she avoids certain topics, the way she reacts to danger, it's becoming impossible to ignore. But every time Ethan tries to press her, she deflects, and he's left with more questions than answers. Everything unravels the day Ethan stumbles upon her secret by accident. They're at school when an emergency strikes. A strange device is activated, emitting a pulse that makes everyone around it collapse, unconscious. Everyone, except Seria. As Ethan watches in stunned disbelief, Seria pulls out a small, glowing device from her jacket, something unlike anything Ethan has ever seen. She works quickly, pressing it to the ground, neutralizing the pulse in seconds. The strange glow fades, leaving behind nothing but confusion and silence. Ethan stares at her, his mind struggling to process what just happened. What was that?" he asks, his voice shaky. Seria hesitates, knowing there's no more hiding the truth. "It's alien tech," she says quietly. "I'm not from here, Ethan. I was sent to protect you." Ethan takes a step back, disbelief and betrayal washing over him. Protect me? From what? Why? How long have you been lying to me? I didn't lie, she insists, though the words sound hollow even to her. I just couldn't tell you everything. You're carrying something that can activate ancient alien technology. Others are after it, dangerous ones. My mission is to keep you safe. Ethan shakes his head, trying to piece it all together, but the weight of it is too much. So what? This whole time, everything between us, was it just a mission to you? Was any of it real? Seria steps closer, her expression softening. It wasn't just a mission. I swear. I didn't expect to care about you the way I do, but I do, Ethan. You mean more to me than you know. But the damage is done. Ethan's trust is shattered, his mind racing through every moment they shared, now tainted with doubt. I thought you were my friend, he whispers, the hurt in his voice cutting deep. I am your friend, Seria pleads. But I also had a job to do. Please, you have to understand. Ethan shakes his head, backing away. I don't know what to believe anymore. I need time. Before either of them can say another word, the world explodes into chaos. A group of armed men burst through the school gates, heading straight for Ethan. They aren't human, not entirely. Their movements are too precise, their eyes glowing faintly under the dim lights. They've tracked him, and they've come to take what he unknowingly carries. Seria reacts instantly, shoving Ethan behind her as she activates a small force field. Run! She shouts, but Ethan is frozen in place, still reeling from the truth. Seria grabs his arm, pulling him toward the nearest exit. I'll explain everything later. But right now, we need to survive. Bullets and strange energy beams fly past them as they sprint through the school halls, weaving between lockers and classrooms. Seria's alien technology gives them an edge, but their pursuers are relentless. They barely make it out through a side door, breathless and shaken. Ethan glances at Seria, the betrayal still fresh, but for now, survival comes first. They have no choice but to keep running. Ethan and Seria keep running until they're far from the chaos. They take shelter in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, the only sound around them the distant hum of traffic. Inside, the air is cold, and the building feels forgotten by time. Ethan sits against the wall, trying to catch his breath, his mind spinning with everything that's happened. Seria stands nearby, keeping watch, her posture still alert, ready for the next threat. After a moment, Seria kneels beside him, pulling out the small alien device from her jacket. She explains, in as simple terms as she can, that this device, and the ancient technology tied to it, has been hidden on Earth for centuries. Ethan carries the final piece within him, unknowingly linked to its activation. If it falls into the wrong hands, the consequences could be catastrophic. Ethan listens in silence, absorbing the gravity of what she's saying, but the tension between them lingers. He still doesn't know if he can fully trust her. Why didn't you just tell me? He asks quietly, the hurt still present in his voice. Seria looks down, guilt flickering across her face. I thought keeping it from you would protect you. I was wrong. They sit in uneasy silence, knowing there's no time for a proper resolution. Even now, Ethan feels the weight of betrayal, but something in Seria's expression tells him that, despite the secrecy, she genuinely cares. He doesn't want to admit it, but deep down, he knows she never meant to hurt him. Their brief respite is shattered when the enemies track them down. The air hums with tension as the building is surrounded. There's no more running. Seria glances at Ethan, and without a word, he knows what they have to do, stand and fight. She places the alien device in his hands, and for a moment, he feels the strange hum of energy coursing through it. You have to activate it, she says urgently. Only you can. Ethan hesitates, still unsure if he can trust himself or the strange technology he holds. But when the first wave of attackers bursts into the building, he knows there's no time for doubt. With Seria guiding him, he focuses on the device, feeling it respond to his intent, as if it's been waiting for him all along. A surge of energy flows through him, unlocking a power he never knew he possessed. Together they fight back, the alien technology giving them an edge against their pursuers. Seria moves with precision, her combat skills honed by years of training, while Ethan taps into the newly awakened power within him. They work in perfect sync, as if they've been partners their whole lives, every movement coordinated, every decision seamless. The enemies are relentless, but Ethan and Seria are unstoppable. Just as the attackers close in, Ethan channels the device's full power, creating a blinding pulse that forces their pursuers to retreat. The building shakes from the energy release, but they hold their ground, standing side by side. When the dust settles, the enemies are gone, at least for now. They've won this battle, but they both know the fight isn't over. Breathless and exhausted, Ethan turns to Seria. For the first time, he sees her not as someone who betrayed him, but as someone who stood by him, even when she didn't have to. He understands now. Her secrecy wasn't about manipulation but protection. She kept him in the dark to shield him, not because she didn't care, but because she cared too much. "I'm sorry," Seria says softly, her voice filled with regret. "I should have told you sooner. I didn't mean for things to happen like this." Ethan looks at her, the anger and betrayal finally fading. He realizes that what they've been through, what they've survived, proves that their friendship is real. It was never just a mission to her. She stayed by his side when it mattered most, and that's what counts. "It's okay," he says quietly, offering her a small, genuine smile. "I get it now. You were trying to help." Seria looks relieved, though she doesn't let her guard down entirely. There's still work to be done, and they both know it. But for now, the rift between them has closed, replaced by something stronger than before. Trust. They walk back to town together, the sun beginning to rise on the horizon. The school is just ahead, looking the same as it always has, but everything feels different now. Ethan knows that life will never go back to the way it was, not after everything they've faced. But somehow, that thought doesn't scare him anymore. As they pass through the school gates, Seria gives him a sidelong glance. "So," she says with a small smile, "still mad at me?" Ethan laughs, the sound light and genuine. "Maybe a little. But I'll get over it." They share a look, one filled with the kind of understanding that only comes from facing impossible odds together. Whatever challenges lie ahead, they know they can handle them. They've already proven that. For the first time in a long while, Ethan feels ready for whatever comes next. And with Seria by his side, he knows he won't be facing it alone.